What's good, everybody? Welcome to the Closing Beat. Happy Friday. Hope you had a great week, actually. Pretty eventful week in the stock market. If you're just joining us for the first time, you're going, what is all this stuff? It's just a stock market overview that we do. We're financial advisors with Jazz Wealth Managers. I hope you'll check us out. But basically, we just go over the stock market. If you look over here to the left, you can see the Dow was a little bit higher today. We'll cover why in a moment. The S&P, we're going to call that flat. Just, down a point. That's basically flat. And the Nasdaq lost 36 on the day. That's about 0.5%. That's been one of the more volatile areas this week. So we'll cover that, of course, in a minute. If you look to this chart here off to the left, you can see the stock market started a little bit higher today. Well, the S&P started higher today. And there was a little buy program there a little sell program there about midway through the day, but really nothing happened. It just kind of fizzled out. Nobody wanted to take on risk or take off risk going into the weekend. And that's what you see there by that chart. That's a 5-minute chart, by the way. So every 5 minutes it would update. And basically it hovered right around the flat line there for the second half of the day. So let's go through a few things here today. Next week, earnings is going to be a busy one. Get your rest over the weekends because next week we have 149 or 150 names reporting earnings. And we're going to try to go through all of them. I'm going to change this over here so we can see them all, go through them all. I'll be working all weekend, basically. So that's that. We've got earnings coming up. I want to point out a few things here. We go over to the charts. Not a whole lot to talk about today. So here's the S&P 500 desperately trying to hang on to this trend line or give or take the 200-day moving average. The Nasdaq 100 is in a very similar spot. We're stuck right there. If we start to break below that, could just be another leg down, right? So a little heads up on that. And then the Dow looking the best for the moment. A lot of that today was due to Procter Gamble. That was your best performer in the Dow. It was up 9% on the day. They said they had their best earnings in 5 years. So Procter Gamble killing it there. The other one in the Dow that helped out today was American Express. We covered it yesterday when they reported earnings. I did go through the notes and found American Express really cited consumers swiping that credit card in a higher way as one of their main metrics there, not taking advantage of the rewards programs as much as they have in the past. I love digging through their earnings. So they got $1.88 per share of profit. That was really good. Revenue was higher, and of course people swiping those cards helped them gain about 4% on the day today. So that was kind of interesting. If you follow the price of oil, as we look through a couple sectors here, price of oil was higher by 1.2% on the day. Basically what happened, you could see on the charts there, it is lower for the week, but basically what happened, OPEC, they said they were going to fill the void and be able to produce more, the OPEC nations, from the Iranian sanctions that the U.S. put on them. And come to find out, they can't do it. They're having a hard time. They got Venezuela. I wrote it down somewhere because I can't remember all these names. Iran, Venezuela. Well, we know about Iran. Venezuela and Angola, they just can't keep up with those declines in those areas. So, hey, when we hear things like that, it was just a report, by the way. This wasn't like proven to be factual. But when you hear things like that, investors think, okay, I better be, long here, at least in the short term. So that was the price of oil. Hey, I noticed this just a couple minutes ago. I didn't look at utilities today, but on the scroller, you're able to kind of see they had a good day, up 1.5%. That's hinting at a breakout. Utility stocks hinting at a breakout. Go figure. So that's that one. Consumer staples. That one grabbed my attention today. 2.25% was the best performer in the S&P 500. If you happen to be following along, why? Procter Gamble, right? That's the leading consumer staple stock. I think it's like 12% overall of the sector. You also had Pepsi and Coke. I always look at those three together because they make up just over 30% of the consumer staple stocks and consumer staple sector. And so Coke hinting at a breakout there, had a good day today. Pepsi another 2% trying to recover. And then, of course, we already mentioned Procter & Gamble. That's all earnings related there. Much, much higher volume than normal. If you want to look at a few other names, Philip Morris in that space, continuing with the earnings that we talked about yesterday. So that helping consumer staples. That's a 1.5% gain on the day. And Walgreens Boots Alliance, the worst name on the planet. As far how do you name a company that? And they did that reverse merger thing, right? They're not a U.S. company anymore, so you kind of have to give them a hard time. 1% gain on the day there. So consumer staples really, XLP is the ETF I'm using to look at that for the moment. 2.25% today. Money moving into that category. Remember, consumer staples are defensive, meaning they don't cycle with the market as the market does. When the economy suffers a little bit, Disney World suffers, right? When the economy does really well, Disney World does great. Well, with these consumer staple stocks, people are going to smoke, Philip Morris, people are going to drink Pepsi. You get the idea that if you're new to the markets, it's known as non-cyclical. So no matter what the economy does, the consumer staple stocks should hang in there because people are going to continue to drink, smoke, and candy. Candy and sugar and soda and stuff. I know I'm in. I mentioned Disney a second ago, so we'll talk about that one. That broke to new highs today. New highs on the year, I should say. $118. Well, it closed at we'll call it $119. This is an interesting one here because what happened was, and the analyst did a great job. Younger guy, not the best track record, okay? So I looked up his track record to see where he is with Disney. He's got overall, as an analyst, 52% success rate. He's down 2% on all of his calls. So he needed to pick something with a close profit target. He has a 130 profit target for Disney. Disney could hit that in a matter of days. It moves around pretty good. He needs a win. So this is one of those under the surface sort of things. I'm not discounting his arguments against Disney. He thinks he has a lot of great things to say about him. But this was one where the analyst did it to grab attention because he needs a win. So imagine that. One guy able to stir up all the media, write a nice note, and try to, hopefully he does better because he doesn't have that great of a success rate. Oh, and by the way, where's my paper? In non-financial news here, Disney World, and I looked up the patent to read this thing here too. So there's a new ride coming to Epcot. You know I'm going to be there. So Epcot, people were hinting maybe it's the Guardians of Galaxy ride at Epcot, but check this out. It's a roller coaster with a passenger compartment, motion powered through stored onboard technology. If that doesn't make you want to just sit through and read about the entire patent that they followed, I don't know what else does, because that's a roller coaster with onboard power for you to do something. We don't know what yet, but most roller coasters, you shoot off in a direction and then you just go about your way using the energy you've built up. And this one says there's something you're going to be able to do while you're on the roller coaster? You're kidding me. The patent thing here, it looks like you'll be able to rotate the car on a horizontal axis while providing, and the power system is going to be on the actual roller coaster. Right? My God, those guys are great. Anyways, so not talking about the stock price, we're talking about roller coasters here. How cool is that? Anyways, that's what that one was. Tesla, a little bit lower today. It did close off the lows, only down 1.5%. Sorry, I'll switch back to the charts for you. Lower price Model 3. Do you love the Tesla? Do you not want to spend all that money? You can get a $45,000 Model 3. It's not going to go as far. They're doing like what phones do. Apple's like, you can get the 16 gig and it's this much. You can get the 32 gig and it's this much. Tesla's doing something similar. You can get a car that goes 260 miles, or you can get one that'll go further. The Model 3 is going to go 260 miles. 310 is the limit on the existing Model 3. So a little discount there. Investors don't like to see that. You want to be able to charge a premium for your product or whatever it is in order to attract more investment. And anytime, it happened with Apple too. As soon as it started to seem that maybe they didn't have the pricing power, way back, of course they have pricing power, but way back that hurt them as well. 250, that's the line in the sand for Tesla. So keep an eye on that. We'll keep talking about it. PayPal, 10% gain on the day. Venmo, turns out Venmo is going to be great. We talked about this yesterday. Venmo did 17 billion in transactional volume, and they may be able to monetize that a little bit faster than they thought. Also, they partner with American Express. We talked about that yesterday. So that's that one. E-Trade Financial says we're not for sale. They reported earnings. Nobody cared. The CEO said we're not for sale. That was the highlight of it. Nobody focused on anything else. Skechers, I don't know how Skechers is not. I mean, these guys must just run the crap out of this company because everybody and their mother's got Skechers. They're everywhere. So maybe it's oversaturation. I'm not sure. The stock was higher by 13% on the day. Good earnings. And they said we've got growth in every one of our geographical locations all over the world. So they're doing well. They probably deserve that 14% on the day. I've never really looked too deep into Skechers. Maybe we'll do that. Roku, minus 5% on the day. It was upgraded today to set with a $70 price target. The analyst actually has a good track record too. 66% success rate, 23% average gain on all of his stocks. Stock was lower today overall. A lot of these names just got hit today. It's back to the Nasdaq again. We keep that same story with the Nasdaq. the bigger tech names and everything that everybody chased for a while, people are just taking profits, especially into the weekend. That's really all I got. We mentioned pretty much everything that hit the news today, so that'll cover that pretty quickly. If we go to the S&P 500, all the names near the top of the list we've already mentioned, besides Campbell Soup. Campbell Soup added 3.5% today, still very, very weak. Nothing interesting in there that I think I can mention. On the downside, boy, look at that AMD. Did you see the AMD today? Stock was down 11%. They bought something from Intel. I didn't read into the story, but they bought something from Intel. Intel must have got a good deal out of them. eBay down 8% today. That one was in the news. They're going to be challenging Auto Trader. Also some negative comments that came out. What else? Nvidia down 4%. Netflix down 4%. And so Take-Two Interactive down 3%. Some of those major tech names. I'm just trying to mention some of the names we talked about throughout the week in case you're into them still. ATVI down 3%. I'll leave it there. We'll leave it at that. PayPal, that was earnings. We covered that one. Ford, yeah, you see what they're doing there? They canceled their analyst day, and that's a tough one. That makes you wonder, right? So the way it works normally is the analysts that cover these stocks, they get a day, it's usually more, to go and talk with the CEO, ask any question they want. They sit in a boardroom. They get the feeling where the company's at. They try to poke and prod and stuff, and then they go make their upgrade or downgrade suggestion. They canceled that. So the analysts are like, we have no idea what to expect from the company. We can't upgrade it, downgrade, or do anything. They're all hinting at possibly downgrading it. So Ford, I don't know what's going on over there, but that's not good news. Earnings coming up next week, I believe. 2 weeks, I believe, for AMD. So careful on that one. Curious, how worried are you at all about oil prices going up, U.S.-Saudi relation? I'm a big fan of higher oil prices, so I'll cheer them on. I think the Saudi thing that's going on there is a distraction for the moment. Look, I'm not discounting what happened to the guy, but when the media chooses to focus on something, you always want to ask yourself why. And without getting into all of that, I think that is a temporary distraction away from what is to come. But I don't get into that stuff. We covered the infrastructure thing yesterday. Yep, thanks, financial investor, helping us out there. I appreciate that. Video on Ford. Yeah, I had made a list maybe I'll put Ford on the list. I did, well, but the problem is I won't be able to have any more information than anybody else because they can't, as far as recent information, but I do see a lot going on there. I mean, it's sad, but them and GM, pretty weak. That's what it is. eBay has been suing Amazon. I think that started earlier this week. Yep, you're right. The $20 billion with Blackstone, yeah, we talked about that yesterday. I don't think that's a problem either. The money's all but committed, so, they're not going to change their mind. They're not going to, like, all of a sudden, like, not want to make money. So it's just a bunch of noise. I do think the China noise thing gets a little bit louder. You had Chinese GDP came in at 6.5%. The media chose to ignore it today. They just hit on it real quick, and then overnight when it did, because it comes out at night, which is daytime their time, it did briefly poke up there, but the problem is 6.5% is still impressive. It's just slower than what it was. So can your economy slow down to 6.5% and still be successful? Absolutely. So they don't really have an argument yet, I don't think. So I don't know. We'll see. Anyways, that's all I have for you. We'll keep it really simple today. Next week is going to be busy. I hope you get your rest. Like I said, 149 names reporting earnings. And we're going to attempt to do something a little different and cover them all. It might be my last week ever. I can just see how much work it's going to be, but I'm in. Let's do it. So enjoy. Have a great weekend, and we will talk to you then.
Why should you choose Jazz Wealth as your retirement or long-term investing service? Our portfolios are managed by us, not some faceless mutual fund manager. Our private classes will teach you everything about investing and getting your dough straight. Best of all, our fiduciary standard means your best interests comes before ours.
Hey, wait! Before you go watch one of our other great videos, have you had a chance to see our new Fin Tips videos? They focus on one topic at a time, covering investing, personal finance, and anything that can quickly help you with your dough. Best of all, we'll keep it real short, because we know time is money.